How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another Magic the Gathering video. This is Big John. It has been quite some time since I uploaded a video. Very recently, in fact, as of recording this video, earlier today, my Goreclaw EDH video reached 100 views. I made myself a self-promise that since Goreclaw was getting really popular for some odd reason, I'm not too sure why, that I would revamp the deck, make it a lot better, and then do another upload of it. And then make another version of it. So, as you can tell, Goreclaw reached 100 views. Excuse me. And now I'm here to upload a Goreclaw video. The playmat we're using today is another Gwire Gaming playmat. This is a thing for Throne of Eldraine, one of the recent standard sets. It's Garruk in the Cauldron of Eternity, I think it's called. It's pretty nice. Gonna make the lighting any better. Actually, the lighting's pretty fine. Surprised about that. I am running 3 cards that I have only in Japanese, so at the end of the video, I am going to reveal those cards in their English formatting. Here's what they look like right now. These two are alternate arts to the original, so that's why I have one of them as a normal English one, but I don't care to find it because I don't want to look for it. Just real quick, I haven't been uploading because I've been either too busy, too lazy, or I've been watching a lot of anime recently. And with what's going on, I really don't think I couldn't exactly do this. But for stuff like that, I need you guys to be as careful with it as possible so we can get this over with and move on with our lives. But let's get on into the video. So, the commander we're using today is Goreclaw Edh of Qualsisma. She is a 4-drop, 4/3 bear. Creature spells you cast with power 4 or greater cost 2 less to cast. Whenever Goreclaw Edh of Qualsisma attacks, each creature you control with power 4 or greater gets +1/+1 and gains trample until the end of turn. So this deck is what I call a super beat face deck. It's all about combat damage and lands, so it's basically what mono green does, but it's more or less the win con is beat the crap out of your opponent. I was going to do categories in like different orders, like what cards are in here that search for a land, but that was too much of a hassle to go through every one of my cards that are in the deck. This is a commander deck. But before we get into the fanatics of the deck, I'm going to do the lands first. I run Mosswort Bridge. Mosswort Bridge is a green land with Hideaway. So when it enters tapped. You look at the top 4 cards of your library, exile one of them face down, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, or in any order. It taps to add a green mana, and then you can pay 1 green, tap it, and you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost if creatures you control have total power of 10. Next, I run Lotus Field. It is a multicolor land with hexproof. It enters tapped. When it enters, you have to sack 2 lands, which is its downside, but it taps to add 3 mana of any one color. So you're sacking off. So turn 1 you play a forest, then you play turn 3 Lotus Field, it enters tapped, you're stalled for a turn, but then on turn 4 you have your 4 lands and then most likely ramping with some other stuff. Then I run all 3 Urza lands. For when they're on the field, they together tap for 7 colorless mana. Not much into that. And then I run 35 forests. I plan on getting all of the forests into the Ixalan Jace forest, with Jace right there up in the tree. No, not all there, but most of them are. Alright. Now that the lands are out of the way, let's move on to the legendary creatures that are not the commander. I actually just updated this deck again before I started recording this video because... Sorry, it didn't look like I was recording. Because I opened up a mystery booster box, which I was going to record, but I decided I got too excited trying to not open it, and I opened it. I might do a video on what I pulled out of it, but I changed some cards around in this deck, and now there's cards from my mystery booster box in the deck. Starting things off, I run Yorvo, Lord of Garingbrigg, 3 green, 0/0, legendary knight, legendary noble, actually, giant noble. It enters the battlefield with 4+1/+1 counters on it. Whenever another green creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Yorvo. Then, if that creature's power is greater than Yorvo's power, put another +1/+1 counter onto Yorvo. He's a big boy that gets bigger. Next, I run Nylea Keen-Eyed. This is the Constellation version. It's a special alternate art. She's a 4-drop god, legendary enchantment creature, 5/6, with indestructible, as long as your devotion is less than 5, to green at least. Nylea isn't a creature. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Pay 3, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put that card in your hand. Otherwise, you may put the card into your graveyard. It's a good way to, if you're just top decking lands, it's a good way to throw your lands away and then get them later if you need them. Next, I run Myojin of Life's Web. It is a 9-drop 8/8 legendary spirit. When it comes into play, put a divinity counter on it. If you played it from your hand, it is indestructible as long as it has a divinity counter on it. Remove a divinity counter from Myojin of Life's Web. Put any number of creature cards from your hand into play. This is just a... You should be able to get to 9 mana pretty quickly with this deck. Which means, 3 creatures for a divinity counter. Let's move on to normal creatures. Yeah. Normal creatures. Normal creatures, enchantment creatures, artifact creatures, stuff like that. Alright. First off, we have Hexdrinker. 1-drop snake with level up for 1. At sorcery speed, you can put a level counter onto this creature. At level 3 to 7, it has protection from instances, and it is a 4/4. At level 8 and beyond, it has protection from everything, and it is a 6/6. It's a pretty fun creature. Not gonna lie. Next, I run Borderland Explorer, a 2-drop elf, 3/1. When it enters the battlefield, each player may discard a card. Each player who discards a card this way searches their library for a basic line card, reveals it, puts it into their hand, and then shuffles their library. It's like Temp with Discovery, but on a creature. Next, I run Hungering Hydra. It's one of the first X spells in the deck. 1 green X, Hydra, 0/0. When it enters the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters on it. Can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. Whenever it is dealt damage, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. It's pretty fun. to have a gigantic creature. Next, I run Inoc Survivalist, 2-drop Hound, 2/1, with Megamorph for 2. So you cast it face down as a 2/2 for 3 mana of any color, 3 colorless, whatever. And then you turn it up for its Megamorph cost, which is 1 green, 1 other. And then since it has Megamorph, it gets a +1/+1 counter. When it's turned face up, destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. It's just a utility destruction creature. Next, I run Beast Collar Savant, 2-drop 1/1, basically a creature mana dork. So it has haste and it taps for a mana of any color, but you can only use that to cast a creature. So it's a mana dork, but only for creatures. Next, I run Den Protector, 2-drop 2/1 with creatures power less than Den Protector can't block it, but it has Megamorph as well. The same thing applies. When it's turned face up, you return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Just like quick, get something back from your graveyard. Next, I run Leafkin Druid, 2-drop 0/3, taps for it's a mana dork that if you control 4 or more creatures, it taps for 2 instead. Next, I run Sakura Tribe Elder, 2-drop 1/1, sack it, search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, tap, and shuffle. Next, I run Eternal Witness, 3-drop 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Just another thing to grab something out of your graveyard. Next, I run Hooded Hydra, 2 green, X, 0/0. Enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. When Hooded Hydra dies, create a 1/1 green snake creature token for each 1/1 counter on it. And it has Morph instead of Megamorph, so you pay 3, play it face down, 2/2, and then pay its Morph cost and flip it, but it doesn't get a +1/+1 counter. As it is turned face up, put 5 +1/+1 counters on it. Next, I run Voracious Hydra, 2 green, X, 0/1 with Trample. It enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters, and when it enters the battlefield, you may choose one. Either double the number of +1/+1 counters on Voracious Hydra, or have it fight a creature you don't control. Next, I run Genesis Hydra, 2 green, X, 0/0. Whenever you cast it, reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put a non-land permanent card with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest into your library. Genesis Hydra enters battle with X +1/+1 counters on it. Next, I run Karametra's Acolyte. It is a 4-drop 1/4 mana dork that taps for green equal to your devotion 2 green. Next, I run Longshot Squad. It is a 4-drop 3/3. Come on, focus. With Outlast for 2. You pay 1 green, 1 other, tap it, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Only at sorcery speed. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has reach. Next, I run Beast Whisperer. It is a 4-drop 2/3 that whenever you cast a creature spell, you draw a card. Next, I run Seedborn Muse, a 5-drop 2/4. It untaps all your permanents during your opponent's untap steps. Next, I run Hero's Bane. 5-drop Hydra, starts out as a 0/0, enters the battlefield with 4 +1/+1 counters on it. Pay 2 green, 2, put X +1/+1 counters on Hero's Bane equal to its power, where X is its power. Next, I run Aggressive Mammoth. It is a 6-drop 8/8 with Trample, and other creatures you control have Trample. Next, I run Beanstalk Giant. It is a 7-drop star, and its power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control, but what I normally run it for is Fertile Footsteps. It's a 3-drop sorcery adventure. You search your library for a basic land card, put that card on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. It just grabs you another land for pretty cheap, and then you can have a giant creature later. Next, I run Verdant Force. It is a 8/8 drop 7/7. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 Saproling creature token. Next, I run Apex Altasaur. It is a 9-drop 10/10. When it ETBs, it fights up to one target creature you don't control, and then has Enrage. Whenever it's dealt damage, it fights up to one target creature you don't control. Next, moving on to the enchantment creatures. These are the last two creatures of the deck that aren't in Japanese, at least. It's a 3-drop 4/2 with Flash and Bestow for 5. So it's like it can be cast as an aura, enchantment aura, on a creature. An enchanted creature gets +4/+2. And then whenever the enchanted creature dies, this comes onto the field as a creature. Or it stops being an enchantment and becomes a creature. Next are in Nihilia's Forerunner. It is a slightly better, slightly worse version of Aggressive Mammoth. It's a 5-drop 5/3, and it does the same thing as Aggressive Mammoth, so it has Trample, and other creatures you control have Trample. We're going to move on to the enchantments in enchantment auras and a legendary enchantment artifact that I run. Excuse me. I run, starting it off, Evolutionary Leap. It's a 2-drop enchantment. Pay a green, sack a creature, reveal cards on top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card in your hand and put the rest on the bottom of the library in a random order. With Verdant Force, it's a good way to... Verdant Force on the field and Evolutionary Leap. It's a good way to just say, I have creatures that are kind of useless. Sack one of my Saprolings. Try to get a creature that's good. And it kind of sorts you out if you're getting mana flooded as well. Next I run Kalani Heart Expedition. It's a 2-drop enchantment with a landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a quest counter on it. Remove 3 quest counters on it, sack it, and search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library. Pretty decent. Especially when you're getting mana flooded, I guess. You can go grab lands, get them out of the way. Next I run Abundance, a 4-drop enchantment that says if you would draw a card, you may instead choose land or non-land. Reveal cards on top of your library until you reveal a card of the chosen kind. Put that card into your hand, and the other cards revealed onto the bottom. It's in here again for if you're getting mana flooded. I can just say non-land, put a bunch of lands from the top of my library to the bottom, and grab whatever's on top that's a non-land. Or if you're facing a mill deck, it comes in real handy because you don't draw. Frontier Siege is next. It's a 4-drop enchantment. It says when it enters, you choose cons or dragons. I mainly choose dragons, or cons, not dragons, because it gets me at each of my main phases. I get 2 green mana. But dragon says whenever a creature with flying ETBs under your control, you may have to fight a creature you don't control. I don't think there's a single flyer in this deck. Next, we're in Leyline of Abundance. It's a 4-drop enchantment. If it's in your hand at the beginning of the game, you may... If it's in your opening hand at the beginning of the game, you may begin with it on the battlefield. Whenever you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green. And then you can pay 2 green and 6, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Next, run Dictate of Karametra. It is a 5-drop enchantment with Flash. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, that player adds 1 mana to his or her mana pool of any type that land produced. Finally, in this category is Bow of Nihilea. It's a 3-drop legendary enchantment artifact. Attacking creatures you control have Death Touch. And then you can pay 1 green, 1 other, tap it, choose 1. Either put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Bow of Nihilea deals 2 damage to target creature with flying. You gain 3 life. Put up to 4 target creatures from your graveyard, or put up to 4 target cards from your graveyard on the bottom of your library in any order. It's mostly in here for the Death Touch, but the tap is really good as well. Next, we're moving on to the artifacts. I run Vivian's Arcbow, 2-drop legendary artifact. Pay X, tap it. Discard a card. Look at the top X cards of your library. You may put a creature card from commanding cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library. Excuse me. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Good way to get creatures out real quick. Good way to get rid of lands. Next, I run Contagion Clasp. 2-drop artifact. When it enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature, and then it has pay 4 and tap for proliferate. That's mostly in here for the proliferate. So when you're having +1/+1 counters on your creatures, just pay 4, tap it, proliferate. All your creatures get a bunch more counters. Tome of Legends, 2-drop artifact, enters the battlefield with a page counter on it. Whenever your commander attacks or enters the battlefield, put a page counter on it. Pay 1, tap it, remove a page counter from it, and draw a card. Next, I run Pendant of Prosperities. It's a 3-drop. It enters the battlefield under an opponent's control of your choice. That opponent may pay 2 and tap it, draw a card, then they may play a land from their hand on the battlefield, and then the owner of Pendant of Prosperity does the same, or may do the same. No, it's not may. It is, you have to do it. Next, I run Thran Dynamo. This is the final artifact. It's a 4-drop that taps for 3 colorless. Alright, moving on to Planeswalkers. I run 4 in the deck, but 2 of them are in Japanese, and they're sitting over to the side here. First off, I run Vivien, Champion of the Wilds. 3-drop, starts out at 4. You may cast creature spells as though they had flash. +1 until your next turn, up to 1 target creature gains Vigilance and Reach. -2, look at the top 3 cards of your library, exile 1 face down, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, or in any order. For as long as it remains exiled, you may look at that card, and you may cast it if it's a creature. Next, we're on Vivien, Nature's Avenger. It's a 6-drop that starts out at 3. +1, put 3 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature. -1, reveal cards on top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. -6, target creature gets +10/+10 and gains trample until the end of turn. I don't think I've ever altered her, but I know I like the +1 and -1. We're going on to the spells, instants and sorceries. I run 2 instants and everything else is a sorcery. First off, starting with Commune with Dinosaurs, 1-drop. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a dinosaur or a land card from among them. Put that card in your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. It's just a good way to get a land early on in the game if you started out weak in your hand with that. Next, we're in Broken Bond. 2-drop artifact or enchantment destruction spell that gets you a land from your hand. Puts a land from your hand on the battlefield. Next, we're in Road of Return. It's a 2-drop with Entwine for 2. You can either choose one or entwine it for 4. So pay 2 green and 2 other and cast it for both things. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand, or put your commander into your hand from the command zone. Like when you're in a jam and your commander is like super high on the CMC, just put it in your hand, you cast it for its original CMC. Next, we're on Animus Awakening. It's a 1/1 and X. Reveal the top X cards of your library, put all land cards from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and rest in the bottom of the library in a random order. Spell Mastery, if there are 2 or more instants or sorcery cards in your graveyard, untap those lands. It's just a good way to also get more lands and get rid of the lands off top of your library. Next one, Finale of Devastation, 2 green X, search your library and or graveyard for a creature card from creature mana cost X or less. Put it onto the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. If X is 10 or more, creatures you control get +X/+X and gain haste until the end of turn. It's really fun. Next, are on Cultivate, 3-drop. Searches your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal them. Put one on the battlefield tapped, and then the other in your hand. Same thing with Sky Shroud Claim, except it's cost 1 more. Search your library for up to 2 forest cards, put them into play, and shuffle your library. Except this one puts both, you have to search for forests, and they both come into play. Next we're on Peregrination. It's a 4-drop. Search your library. It's basically Cultivate for 1 more, and you get to scry 1. Tempted Discovery, 4-drop. Tempting Offer. Search your library for a land card. Put that card onto the battlefield. Each opponent may search his or her library for a land card. Put that card onto the battlefield. For each opponent who searches a library this way, search your library for a land card. Put it on the battlefield. Then each player who searches this way shuffles their library. It's basically saying, hey, if you guys search, I'll get to search for more lands. And it's also a really good way to get all 3 Urza lands on the field, because you're searching for 4 lands. Just go, hey, do you want lands? Cool. Urza's Mine, Urza's Tower, Urza's Power Plant, and then a forest. Or, I don't know, Mosswort Bridge, something. Next are in Bountiful Harvest. 5-drop. You gain 1 life for each land you control. It's good, but I don't really cast it that much, so it's probably eventually going to come out of the deck. Next, I run... Come on. Focus. Overwhelming Stampede, 5-drop. Until the end of turn, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Next run, See the Unwritten. This card is one. Hang on, not See the Unwritten, but Overwhelming Stampede is one of the win cons of the deck. Next, I cast See the Unwritten. It's a 6-drop. Reveal top 8 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest in the graveyard. It has Ferocious. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you may put 2 creatures on the battlefield instead of 1. Next are Nissa's Revelation. 7-drop. You scry 5, then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, you draw cards equal to its power and gain life equal to its toughness. Next are on Vivian's Invocation. 7-drop. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them on the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. When a creature is put into the battlefield this way, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls. Next are in Return of the Wild Speaker. It's a 5-drop instant that you choose 1. Either draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control, or non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until the end of turn. And then finally, last card of the deck that isn't the Japanese ones, I run Bounty of Might, 6-drop instant. It has target creature gets +3/+3 into the turn, target creature gets +3/+3 into the end of turn, and target creature gets +3/+3 into the end of turn. So either you give you give 3 creatures +3/+3, you give 1 creature +6/+6 and 1 creature +3/+3, or you give 1 creature +9/+9. Okay, that's it for the deck other than the Japanese cards, but I'm going to skip over to those, so give me 1 second. Okay guys, I'm back. The first one is God Eternal Ronus. It is a 5-drop God, 5/5, with Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield, double the power of each other creature you control to the end of turn. Those creatures gain Vigilance until the end of turn. Whenever God Eternal Ronus dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it into its owner's library 3rd from the top, not instead. Next I have past him. Good. I run Zhang Yanggu Wildcrafter. It is a 3-drop that starts at 3. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has tap, add 1 mana of any color, -1, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. This is pretty good for mana dorks. And last but so much not least, I run Nissa, who shakes the world. She's a 5-drop that starts out at 5. Whenever you tap a forest for mana, add an additional green, +1, put 3+1/+1 counters on up to one target non-creature land you control. Untap it. It becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with vigilance and haste that is still a land. You get an emblem with lands you control have indestructible, and then you may search your library, and then you search your library for any number of forest cards, put them on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library. Alright guys, that is it for this video. The link to this deck will be in the description of the video. And all I have to say for this is, before I finish it off, I am starting a new channel. I'm going to continue uploading on this channel, but it is a side channel that is called Big John Anime. It's where I'm going to talk about anime theories, about anime, top 10s, top 5s, top 20s, something like that. You know, basic anime channel. Have some fun over there. I'll if I remember, I'll put a link to it in the description. There's nothing on there yet. I am trying to start my first video for it. It's going to take some time to do it. So, I mean, you can just go over there and say, "Hey, do whatever." But yeah, I'll put a link to that in the description. But if you did enjoy this video, please like, subscribe, notification bell, same thing all the time. Share my channel with other people, get people invested in this. I don't know, have fun. Be safe, and good night.